Welcome. It is 7:30 in the evening in India and we are back again with our spotlight on G20. On India at G20 today, we look at the urban challenges facing the world, the outcomes of the three-day tourism working group meeting and expectations from the first G20 Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting. The urban infrastructure challenge has been brought forth once again by the Turkey earthquake, a grim reminder of the challenges that come with disasters. While the loss of lives is an immeasurable and irretrievable one, loss of infrastructure puts the onus on governments and communities to deliver on the need for disaster-resilient infrastructure. On India at G20 today, we look at how Urban 20 offers an opportunity to utilize the potential of urbanization as a catalyst to drive the right kind of growth that is sustainable, inclusive and equitable. We also focus on how G20 is highlighting key issues such as archaeological tourism and arresting land degradation, accelerating ecosystem restoration and enriching biodiversity. I'm Munun Bhattacharya. First up, the headlines. Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group begins its first meeting under India's G20 presidency in Bengaluru. Delegates share best practices and experiences in restoration of mining and forest fire affected areas and on conservation and preservation of ecosystems. G20 delegates participating in the Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting in Bengaluru visit Kalkere Arboretum and Bannerghatta National Park for a first-hand experience of ecosystem restoration and biodiversity enrichment practices in the city. Three-day G20 Tourism Working Group meeting concludes in Gujarat's Run of Kutch. On the final day, delegates perform yoga, visit the ancient Harappan city of Dholavira, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and hold discussions on promoting archaeological tourism. Urban 20 Inception meeting begins in Ahmedabad city of Gujarat. Cities from across the globe unite to tackle vital urban challenges. Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri terms U20 as a good example of global peer learning. India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant stresses on the need for innovative and sustainable urbanization. U20 delegates go on a city excursion to Sabarmati Ashram, the residence of Mahatma Gandhi, and Atal Bridge on the Sabarmati riverfront in Gujarat. The first Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting started in Bengaluru under India's G20 presidency today. On the first day, G20 member countries shared best practices and global perspectives on ecological restoration, reforesting those areas that are affected by mining and forest fires, and on conserving and preserving ecosystems. Here's more. The first G20 Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting commenced in Bengaluru on Thursday. Setting the tone for the meeting, a discussion was held on how the theme of India's G20 presidency, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, One Earth, One Family, One Future, is championing a fundamental mindset shift from a sense of ownership of natural resources to trusteeship, sustainable lifestyles, inclusion and universal oneness. At the meeting, India's Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change put the spotlight on how G20 has played a vital role over the years in dealing with economic, financial, social and environmental issues, and how India's presidency will take forward the initiatives from the past G20 presidencies to create tangible impact through collective leadership. The side event on eco-restoration of mining and forest fire impacted areas saw an engaging exchange of global best practices across G20 countries on accelerating ecosystem restoration for degraded landscapes. UNDP shared its experiences on conservation and preservation of ecosystems in mining affected areas, especially highlighting the work done in India. In the second half of the day, the delegates were taken on a site visit to the Kalkere Arboretum and Bannerghatta Biological Park in Bengaluru. At Kalkere Arboretum, the delegates got an opportunity to experience the 4 predominant forest ecosystems of Karnataka: They were shown forest restoration models adopted in these ecosystems and the successful revival of faunal biodiversity in these areas. The Banarghatta Biological Park showcased the state-of-the-art butterfly park and animal safaris to the delegates, who got to experience the rich forest ecosystems and ecotourism model of Karnataka. The first meeting of the G20 Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group over 3 days in Bengaluru will lay the groundwork for subsequent meetings in Gandhinagar, Mumbai and Chennai, with the overarching focus on promoting a lifestyle in harmony with environment or mission life and building a resilient development paradigm for G20. Nishant Saurabh's report from Bengaluru for DD India. DD India correspondent Nishant Saurabh spoke to Chandraprakash Goyal, the Director General of Forests, who participated in the sessions on the first day of the G20 Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group meeting in Bengaluru. Listen in.
We have with us DG Forest, Mr. Chandraprakash Goyal. Sir, what are the main priority areas in this working group meeting?
The G20 is a group of 20 countries, basically working on social, financial, environmental and other issues. So environment is a very important aspect as far as all these countries are concerned. And from the forestry side, almost 80% of the global tree cover is with the G20 countries. So this particular working group becomes more important. In today's working group meeting, we have discussed about the best practices being adopted for restoring the degraded land as from the mining and from the forest fire that are taking place in these countries.
So, sir, what is the current scenario of land degradation due to forest fire and mining, and what is the target?
So, target globally is reducing the degraded land by restoring the degraded land by 50% by the year 2040, and the base year is 2005. And the forest fire, as far as forest fire is concerned, 2% of the country area is affected by the forest fire, but globally, specifically in the G20 countries, much large. So there is a dire need to restore the areas that have been affected by the forest fire.
So, sir, how can Mission Life play its role in these areas?
The Mission Life is a great example being set by our country. The Honorable Prime Minister gave us the call for Mission Life during the COP26. So this basically focuses on how to adopt the sustainable lifestyle for each and every citizen of the country. So as we all know, everyone has some requirements of use of the natural resources, but then the focus should be on not on the mindless utilization but on the mindful utilization, not on the mindless consumption but on mindful utilization. So whatever our need is, we should minimize them and use whatever minimum we can as far as the natural resources are concerned. Then only we will be able to restore the nature in its prime.
Urban 20 Inception meeting began in Ahmedabad, city of Gujarat today. Cities from across the globe are uniting to tackle vital urban challenges under Urban 20. Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri termed Urban 20 as a good example of global peer learning, and India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant stressed on the need for innovative and sustainable urbanization. Later, U20 delegates went on a city excursion to Sabarmati Ashram, the residence of Mahatma Gandhi, and to Atal Bridge on the Sabarmati riverfront in Gujarat. Here's more.
The first meeting of the representatives of selected G20 cities under the Urban 20 Engagement Group began in Ahmedabad on Thursday. This group is unique as it is the only congregation of cities in the G20 from across the world. Organized by the Union Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry and the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, the two-day Inception meeting is being attended by Sherpas of the cities identified for U20. Addressing the plenary session, Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri said India's sustained urbanization is a model for the world and cities should be equipped to deal with global crises and stresses.
Particularly the global south. Steered by India and Chair Ahmedabad, I am convinced that this year's Urban 20 Engagement Group will demonstrate that policies and practices adopted by cities in need have powerful implications on global agendas of development.
Addressing the delegates, India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant said urbanization is the single biggest agenda of change worldwide and efficient public transport must be at the heart of new emerging urban areas. More than half the world lives in urban areas presently. Cities are expected to become home to about two-thirds of the world's population by 2050. But the rapidly growing population also puts greater pressure on the urban infrastructure, making it more vulnerable to climate change, natural disasters, socio-economic inequity and other challenges. What is needed is the right kind of development model. Delegates from cities across the world share their views on the significance of the U20 engagement group.
I appreciate for the organizing this meeting, the Ahmedabad city and the UCLG and C40s.
70% of the world population now live in the urban areas, cities, and it is important that in order to solve the global issues, I think that the voice of urban cities has to be heard in the international societies.
U20 is a relevant mechanism, and it's an initiative co-convened by my organization, United Cities and Local Governments, and C40, to advocate for the interest of cities within the G20 ecosystem.
As primary engines of growth, cities can exert significant influence on the global development agenda. At the U20 engagements, the delegates are deliberating over key priority areas like encouraging environmentally responsible behavior, ensuring water security, accelerating climate finance, leveraging local potential and identity, reinventing urban governance and planning frameworks, and catalyzing digital urban features. With Shubhendu Ghosh in Ahmedabad, Bureau Report, DD India.
And now here's an exclusive conversation with India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant on the agenda of Urban 20 and the objectives that it's pursuing by DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh.
We are in Ahmedabad at the Urban 20 or U20 inception meeting. We are joined by India's G20 Sherpa, Mr. Amitabh Kant, to talk about it. Welcome to Doordarshan, sir. It's a unique meeting where cities of the world take center stage in an international platform. How do you see the significance of the U20 grouping?
This is a very, very important meeting because great cities make for a great nation, and representatives of all cities are here, so they'll share their experiences on what is good master planning. How do you drive good cities as cities for walking, cycling, public transportation? How do you build up cities on the basis of water management, electricity management? How do you do greater densification of cities? How do you benefit in terms of going vertical and public transportation? All these are very key issues, and there are huge experiences, huge lessons to be learned, because countries will grow when there's better urbanization. Urbanization can be the biggest driver of growth. It can be the biggest driver of job creation. It can be the biggest driver of providing an impetus to global economy. And that's why this is a very important meeting.
Right, and so we see that India has one of the fastest urbanizing societies as well. What is the significance of India's growth story to the world in terms of what we want to learn and what we want to share?
So the Prime Minister has laid a lot of focus on sustainable urbanization and the smart city concept, and how do we make urbanization a very key driver of job creation. And there are a lot of Indian cities represented here. Indore, Ahmedabad, all states are represented here. So their case studies will also come up, and other countries will learn from what India has done, and India will learn from what other cities have done across the world. So there are great cities like Barcelona, like Kitakyushu in Japan. There are cities who recycle every single waste, who recycle every single drop of water, and who have become highly sustainable cities of the future. So these are cities we must learn from.
Right. And so G20, India has the vision of presenting the voice of the global south. Under U20, how does that vision is taken forward?
So including U20, because the voice of the global south is all about sharing experiences. It's all about learning from them and putting our experiences before them and benefiting from their experiences. And all these cities of the south, if they have to grow and prosper, then urbanization will be a key driver. And therefore, this is very critical, very important meeting for the south. The experiences of U20 will be shared with the global south as well.
And so finally, the venue of the U20 meeting, Ahmedabad, it's a heritage city, also is one of the leading smart cities. Your view on the venue and the choice?
First of all, it's a very neat, clean, tidy city. It's a great city. It's a city which has very good public transport system. There's a very good BRTS, bus rapid transport system, and the citizens are very proud of the city. So it's a great city to host an event.
Thank you very much for speaking to DD India. That was India's Sherpa at the G20, talking about how urbanization in cities can be the engine of growth for the national and global economies. Shubhendu Ghosh in Ahmedabad for DD India.
The first day of Urban 20 meeting in Ahmedabad saw delegates immersed in yoga asanas in the morning. Here's more.
Day 1 of the 2-day Urban 20 meeting started in Ahmedabad with a special yoga session organized for delegates from cities of the G20 and partner countries. Early morning, fresh air and the sprawling lawns of Gotila Garden form an idyllic setting for practicing various mudras and asanas.
Experience with our class of yoga was truly amazing, because this is the first time that I take one of these kind of classes, so it was great to do it here in India.
This was a really great experience. I think it felt magical at moments, just being able to hear the nature in the park, be able to listen to the sounds of our instructors. I feel ready for the U20 meetings and I feel wonderful.
Very important for our human life, human body. It's make expression, improve our positive mind and remove our negative things.
It was a holistic start to the day for the delegates as they proceeded to deliberate on sustainable ways in which our urban spaces can be developed.
The sight of delegates from different countries waking up early and practicing yoga together resonates with the central theme of India's G20 presidency, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, all world, one family. With Team DD India, Shubhendu Ghosh in Ahmedabad.
India's 40th World Heritage Site, Dholavira in Gujarat, is the oldest and biggest remaining site of the Harappan civilization. DD India's Shreya Upadhyay brings you the special report.
The ancient city of Dholavira, the southern center of the Harappan civilization, is sited on the arid island of Khader in Gujarat. Dholavira was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2021. Dating back to 3000 to 1500 BC, the archaeological site is one of the best preserved urban settlements of Southeast Asia from this period.
We received a G20 delegation and all other international agencies like UN, WTO and other, and around 100 delegation, this entire team visited the archaeological site of Dholavira. They were delighted to be here and their feedback was also very good.
It comprises a fortified city and a cemetery. 2 seasonal streams provided water, a scarce resource in the region. A sophisticated water management system demonstrates the scientific tempo of the times and reflects the struggle to survive in a harsh and dry environment.
धौलावीरा एक 5000 साल पहले की सभ्यता है, उसको 1967 में उजागर किया गया. उसके बाद 91 के आसपास एक्सकवेशन का काम शुरू हुआ. 12-13 साल कुछ काम एक्सकवेशन हुआ, 30-35% एक्सकवेशन हुआ. बाकी का काम क्या है कि ये भूकंप है, बारिश है, उसके खराब होने की वजह से, खुला रहने की वजह से आगे का काम नहीं हो पाया है. उसके बाद धौलावीरा का डेवलपमेंट शुरू हुआ है.
Bead processing workshops and artifacts of various kinds such as copper, shell, stone, jewelry of semi-precious stones, terracotta, gold, ivory and other materials have also been found during archaeological excavations of the site.
Spanning between the periods of 3000 and 1500 BC, the Harappan civilization is evidence of the entire trajectory of the rise and fall of the early civilization of humankind. But it is also a great example of the multiple achievements of our ancestors, whether it is in water management, social governance, or other management and scientific techniques that they used during their civilization. This is the great Dholavira, the remains of the great Harappan civilization. With video journalist Kuldeep Sharma, this is Shreya Upadhyay for DD India.
DD India correspondent Shreya Upadhyay also spoke exclusively with Union Tourism Minister G. Kishan Reddy against the backdrop of the scenic white desert of Rann of Kutch on India's tourism priorities as G20 president. Listen in.
Well, the first G20 Tourism Working Group meeting has kick-started in Gujarat's Rann of Kutch, and I'm joined by Union Tourism Minister Shri G. Kishan Reddy with me. Sir, first of all, many congratulations on hosting this absolutely magnificent, I would say, festival that we are organizing here. First of all, tell us, why was it thought that tourism is one of the key important sectors that should be discussed under India's G20 presidency?
Not only in India, entire world, tourism is one of the important subject. Tourism give lot of employment, sustainability, GDP and culture also. इसीलिए हम tourism का जो G20 में important subject लिया है. आज पहली बैठक आज शुरू हो गए. 3 दिन का बैठक कच्छ में होगा और उसके बाद दूसरा मीटिंग श्रीनगर, गोवा में लास्ट मीटिंग मिनिस्टर्स का मीटिंग, G20 कंट्रीज के टूरिज्म मिनिस्टर्स का मीटिंग गोवा में होगा. क्योंकि भारत आज जितने भी टूरिज्म का प्रमोशन करना है, आप गुजरात देख लीजिए, उत्तर प्रदेश, एनी स्टेट आपको इतना अच्छे एनवायरमेंट ऐसे का एनवायरमेंट मिलेगा दुनिया में किधर भी नहीं है. और इतना ब्रांडिंग अपन कर नहीं पाए. अभी ब्रांडिंग करने का प्लान किया है और डिजिटलाइजेशन कर रहे हैं. टूरिज्म के बहुत कुछ काम हो रहे हैं. अभी आप कोरोना पहले से जितने डोमेस्टिक टूरिज्म थे उससे बढ़ गया. अभी श्रीनगर कंपेयर किए तो आजाद के बाद पहली बार इतने टूरिस्ट श्रीनगर में आए और जो फॉरेन से टूरिस्ट आने का है. अमेरिका लगभग जो कोरोना से पहले लगभग 90% जो फॉरेन अमेरिका से आने वाले थे फॉरेन टूरिस्ट अभी 90% पहुंच गए. ऑस्ट्रेलिया कोरोना से पहले से जितना ज्यादा अभी पहुंच गए. अभी मेरे ख्याल से कमिंग 2-3 मंथ्स अगर दुनिया का वातावरण अगर ठीक रहे, कोई अनवांटेड इंसिडेंट ना हो दुनिया में, कमिंग 2-3 मंथ्स भारत में बहुत बढ़िया फॉरेन टूरिस्ट आएंगे. डोमेस्टिक टूरिस्ट इतना अट्रैक्शन है. सबसे ज्यादा स्पिरिचुअल टूरिज्म अभी बता नहीं सकते. किधर भी आप यू गो टू अयोध्या, यू गो टू वाराणसी, यू गो टू वृंदावन, यू गो टू ताजमहल, यू गो टू हम्पी, एनीवेयर इन इंडिया आप जो स्पिरिचुअल टूरिज्म के बारे में बहुत पहले स्पिरिचुअल टूरिज्म बोलो तो रिटायर्ड ऑफिसर्स, सीनियर सिटीजन्स आते थे. अभी ऐसा नहीं, नौजवान लड़के लड़कियां भी आज स्पिरिचुअल मंदिर देखने के लिए, हम्पी देखने के लिए सभी जगह आ रहे हैं. ये बहुत गुड साइन है. टूरिज्म आने वाले दिन में भारत में एक इम्पोर्टेंट एक कंपोनेंट होगा. टूरिज्म दुनिया में एक बड़ा अट्रैक्टिव सेंटर, क्योंकि आप अलग अलग जैसा इन्वेस्टमेंट के बारे में इंडिया है, टूरिज्म के बारे में भी डेस्टिनेशन इंडिया होगा. जैसा इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए भी आज दुनिया में भारत बड़ा डेस्टिनेशन है, वैसा ही टूरिज्म के बारे में भी आने वाले दिन में भारत बड़ा डेस्टिनेशन दुनिया होगा. आप इतना सुंदर दुनिया में किधर भी नहीं है. ये कच्छ का जो डिजर्ट, जो व्हाइट डिजर्ट दिख रहे हैं, अब दुनिया में किधर ऐसा अलग अलग जियो स्टेट में जाओ, अपने एक स्पेशलिटी भारत के लिए है.
सर, आपने मेंशन किया पैंडेमिक, उसके बाद टूरिज्म बढ़ा है, बट ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द चैलेंजेस दैट वी आर फेसिंग इन टुडेज वर्ल्ड इज क्लाइमेट चेंज, एंड इंडिया इज लीडिंग इन क्लाइमेट एक्शन, वेदर इट इज इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस या फिर हमारे नेट जीरो एमिशंस बाय 2030 अचीव करना, वो हमारे टारगेट्स रहे हैं. हाउ इज इंडिया प्लानिंग टू टैकल दिस व्हेन इट कम्स टू टूरिज्म, क्लाइमेट एक्शन इन द टूरिज्म सेक्टर?
हम ग्रीन टूरिज्म के दृष्टिकोण से आज फर्स्ट मीटिंग में एजेंडा ग्रीन टूरिज्म के ऊपर हुआ है. रूरल टूरिज्म, ग्रीन टूरिज्म. रूरल टूरिज्म, ग्रीन टूरिज्म के आधार पर ये सस्टेनेबिलिटी, जो ग्लोबल सस्टेनेबिलिटी होगा और एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन होगा। सबसे ज्यादा एनवायरमेंट का दृष्टिकोण से जो क्लाइमेट चेंज का समस्या है उसको अपन भारत सबसे पहले, सब दुनिया के अदर कंट्रीज पहले बोलते थे भारत में कोई देखने वाले नहीं है, ऐसे क्लाइमेट चेंज के विषय पर कोई ध्यान नहीं देते। आज दुनिया में भारत को लीड करने वाला है, ग्रीन टूरिज्म हो, अलग अलग दृष्टिकोण से आज ठीक काम चल रहा है।
Sir, also one of the key highlights.
What happened on the final day of the Tourism Working Group meeting in Run of Kutch? A yoga session, a World Heritage Site and India's rich cultural legacy were a part of the concluding day of the first G20 Tourism Working Group meeting in Gujarat's Run of Kutch. Shreya Upadhyay reports.
International delegates from over 20 countries kick-started the third and final day of the first G20 Tourism Working Group meeting with a once-in-a-lifetime yoga experience in the middle of the serene white desert of Run of Kutch. Delegates performed yoga asanas as the first ray of the sun illuminated the skies of Run of Kutch. They were told the benefits of yoga and how it strengthens the body and mind. Ahead of a panel discussion on archaeological tourism, the guests visited UNESCO World Heritage Site, Dholavira, where they learned about the oldest human civilization, the Harappan civilization. Dating between 3000 and 1500 BC, the remains in Dholavira are the largest from the time and reflect the scientific temper of the time through its water management system and social governance. Later in the day, a side event on archaeological tourism on the need to preserve heritage around the world was held, where delegates shared their views on how the archaeological preservation attracts tourists and gives a fillip to the economy. Shreya Upadhyay's report from Run of Kutch for DD India.
And now we leave you with glimpses of mesmerizing cultural performances organized for G20 delegates in Gujarat's Run of Kutch. Delegates wearing vibrant Kutchi jackets joined the artists on the dance floor. Take a look. Namaskar.
पेमेंट फेल? लेकिन पैसे तो कट गए। गई मेरी मेहनत की कमाई।
हो जाएगी भरपाई, चिंता मत कर मेरे भाई। अगर डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन फेल हो